Back in 1722 in Easter Island, Rapa Nui, something happened that would change everything. It was Easter Sunday, April 5th. A low, lonely island rose from the vast Pacific like an argument with the horizon. Jacob Roggeveen, a Dutch-born merchant and navigator leading a 3-ship expedition out of the Netherlands in 1721, had been hunting rumors of a great southern continent, Terra Australis, when his lookouts cried, "Land!" He named it Posh Island, Easter Island, and stepped into a scene no European had seen before, a volcanic shore rimmed with stone giants. Roggeveen's log, later read back in Europe, reads like the first page of a myth. The islanders moved among towering Moai, carved monoliths, some standing, many toppled, faces fixed against wind and salt. For the crew, raised in a world of city canals and mercantile maps, those statues were not merely art. They were proof that complex, ancient societies existed far beyond the familiar coasts of Asia and the Americas. The first contacts were uneasy. Islanders and sailors exchanged gifts and wary gestures. Language failed. Misunderstandings multiplied. Roggeveen's men recorded hospitality and hostility in the same breath. Food and canoe hands offered, then furtive thefts, then threats. On both sides, tension hardened into violence at times. Later accounts by Roggeveen and his officers describe armed skirmishes and a fraught retreat to the ships. What was unmistakable was the chasm between two worlds meeting with no shared map. Context is vital. Europe in the early 18th century was a place of commercial espionage and imperial gamesmanship. Roggeveen was not an idle traveler. He represented merchants who had money on the line and a broader European appetite for new trade routes and colonies. Explorers kept discoveries close. Charts, logs, and secrets were currency. The so-called conspiracy here was less a cloak-and-dagger single plot than an institutional pact. Rival trading companies and nations treated knowledge as power, releasing only what served strategic advantage. Voyages were sponsored with the explicit hope that an island, a harbor, a reef might become a route, a colony, or a resource that would tilt balance of profit. Roggeveen's arrival shattered comfortable European assumptions. The Moai forced a re-evaluation. The Pacific was not empty. It had people with monumental traditions, with histories far older and stranger than Western imagination allowed. Yet the reaction in Europe quickly bifurcated into wonder and appropriation. His published narrative, the sketches, the place names, the sensational accounts of giant heads, fed curiosity, but it also fed a marketplace hungry for exotic spoils. The story of Rapa Nui was folded into a larger colonial dossier that would, over the next century and a half, justify everything from missionary projects to labor raids, often on the flimsiest pretext. The aftermath of Roggeveen's visit was complicated and slow. He left maps and words. He did not stay to witness the island's millions of subsequent tragedies. Ecological collapse debated by scholars, later population decline, and the tragedies of 19th century contact. But his moment, that single day when Europeans first wrote down the Moai in detail, mattered because it changed the way the Pacific was imagined and parceled. Today, when you stand where Roggeveen once stood, on a shore where the wind still smells of sea and stone, you feel both awe and regret. The discovery story is real, dramatic, and messy. A navigator's triumph, an islander's intrusion, and a wider, quieter conspiracy of secrecy and profit that turned knowledge into leverage. Roggeveen gave the world a name and a picture. What followed was a century of choices about who gets to tell the story and who pays the price for being discovered.